Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of In Detail with GA Plus. We've a lot to get through, and as usual, I'm joined by Aaron Kernan, and I know later in the show he's going to tell us how Armagh are going to do back-to-back in this year's All-Ireland. But before that, Aaron, what's the crack with you? How's things?
All's good. I didn't realise you were from Kerry, Michael. That's a bit cute to be lumping a bit of pressure onto us Armagh boys, but
obvious, isn't it?
We're happy with how the weekend went, but still, season hasn't really started yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in these games, and it's hard enough to read them. But certainly, I suppose Armagh they have kind of set the standard so far. But we'll get to them later. Aaron, we were both up in Armagh for a big game on Saturday evening, and a big result.
Yeah, massive. I had obviously been in Ballybofey the week before with GA Plus, and really impressed with Tyrone and probably how they played throughout the game, but particularly whenever Donegal came with that late surge and it looked like the game was going to run away from them, that they found a way to work a few scores. And just an awful lot of what they did in the night was impressive, both in terms of how they defended, how they attacked. It just looked like a team that were very confident, and I fancied them again at the weekend. So we sort of raised the wee point before that it is difficult to come from the huge hay of Ballybofey, a packed crowd, and then obviously there was a good crowd in Armagh. It was a nice evening for football, but just not the same hype or buzz about it. And then whenever you couple that there with an experienced Mayo squad coming with an unbelievable point to prove, given, like, I suppose, I know they haven't been winning Connacht titles, but they've just been super competitive and consistent for a number of years, for 10 odd years. That Mayo or that Cavan performance would have really stung them. And to be fair to them, from the very outset, they took huge energy. And then as the game wore on, the confidence, the running power, and then obviously the scores that they were creating, or the opportunities they were creating and then nailing. It was a very, very impressive win for them to turn things around.
Yeah, they brought huge attitude, the right attitude, set the tempo from the start, were full value for the victory. And, we're probably hurting after Cavan, and maybe they got some energy on the back of Kevin McStay, and just maybe the want just to kind of put in a big, huge performance there for him as well. So they got it all right, yeah. And, it leaves an incredibly tight group in that group now to see who can progress from there, with the games coming in 2 weeks' time. But you wanted to start us off with a few clips from that, Aaron. So what have you got?
I did, yeah. So it came from the outset. The first three attacks came to nothing because they turned the ball over themselves. But what I want to show here is the intent to one-on-one defend here. So just everywhere. A lot of teams now, they'll drop inside the 45, inside the 40-meter arc, the club centrally. Mayo are actually quite different. Now this one here, so this is early on. They've turned over the ball 3 times themselves while attacking. And as I was looking at this one, I was like, are they going to really go for this all day? Are they going to be capable of doing it? Because as you see, there's pressure everywhere, but Mark Bradley eventually gets the shot in. There is maybe a wee bit of a hand on the back, but the ball tails wide. Referee doesn't give it, but they were relentless with this. And this is the bit that really impressed me. They did this for 70 minutes and maintained this for 70 minutes. Like, this is literally about 2 attacks later with one-on-one, straight in front of the goals. Like, Michael McKernan, he probably can look and put the ball in, but Mayo back themselves here in every single situation, that they will hunt you down and put pressure on the ball carrier. So, like, in what they're doing here, they're constantly keeping the Tyrone players on the outside. They're constantly keeping them on the periphery. And even whenever they do go to step and go, for a defender, if you just look at the near hand tackling, but look at the footwork of Jack Kine, the pressure that they put a player of Dara Canavan's calibre on to turn over the ball. And this is something that I want to look at with all Mayo players. Just a wee glimpse of Jack Carney there again. We'll see it very evident here with Paddy Durkin as well, in terms of it's these wee short steps. So this is Paddy Durkin who's highlighted. It's the quick feet that they all have in these defensive situations that makes them so hard to get by, because they're just really good at reading where you're going. But again, look at Paddy Durkin. This is the quick feet I'm talking about here, so we can change direction. But he's coming out after Sean O'Donnell. Like, he's not willing to sit back inside the 40 and hope that someone else, makes a mistake or he passes the ball. He forces them back. So therefore, Darren McHale then chases down, and then Stephen Cohen chases down, and they get the turnover. So to me, that was unbelievably impressive. and it set the template for what they were about. But then this is the flip side to it again. The winner kick out now, it's a sort of miss kick by Niall Morgan, but straight away a Bob Toohey, head up, ball inside. And Ryan O'Donoghue, he takes a split second, launches this straight to the far post to Aidan O'Shea, and they end up, well, it actually goes to Jack Carney, but O'Shea picks it up. Niall Morgan gives a wee tug of the shirt. But to me, straight away, like that's early on in the game now. As you're a defender, you're having to think then. You don't know, are they going to run everything? Are they going to come through the channel? Are they going to play it in front of Aidan? They started going long and got joy. That was only one we showed. This is another one I want to show about their pressure in terms of hunting players down all over the field. You had Stephen Cohen, who's straight up after Kieran Daly here. And just look at how he keeps tracking the whole way back. But what they do really well here now is they get Con Kilpatrick on the sideline here, but you think his pace, he's gone. Just keep an eye on David McBreen here, where you think he's not giving up. Like his man stayed in the middle of the field. He could stop the whole way back. And like you tell an underage player, the ball always comes in the air every 4 or 5 steps. That is absolute textbook, where he just waits his time and gets the near hand and flicks it away. But again, look what happens as they go up the other end of the field. Straight away, get the ball into the opposite half of the field. Now, Darren McHale's taking a lot of plays, but he's going forward. You know, he's not hesitating. And then in this case, get a wee bit of luck with Jack Carney again. Could have get done for screening. But O'Donoghue adds that wee injection of pace. Conal Dawson off the shoulder, over the bar. Different dynamic to what they did in the other scores. But then this man, Aidan O'Shea, powerhouse performance. It's just the speed and the strength that he can go by past people. But if you notice Ryan O'Donoghue, the loop that he comes around, he is so good at just trailing Aidan straight away. 4 Tyrone players all get caught on the wrong side of him because he just has the strength and the power to absorb tackles, to draw people in. And Ryan, while nothing came off that one, it just was a case in point. It was the energy that they were playing. It was the variety that they were playing. And it was the bravery in terms of how they defended. It just stood out to me all across the field. And I don't know, like you were obviously sitting watching, doing analysis on it. Your thoughts on whenever they were going after that, particularly man-on-man defending early on, did you think at a stage they would then drop off and start to play zonely like other teams do? Or what was your reading on it?
Well, I suppose it's something that we have been accustomed from Mayo over the years, you know, with the Higginses and the Keegans and the Boyles and all these lads. Like they were one-on-one man markers, you know, for all the way through. And, you know, I hated coming up against them because, like you said, they had the pace and the footwork and to match you and just to time their tackle and then they're gone. So we saw huge evidence in the whole game of that. What struck me in the first half was the amount of times that Mayo kicked to the full forward line, and you picked up one of them there, but there was probably 2 or 3 more, as you said, and they got joy out of them, and they weren't always even the perfect balls. Some of them were sliced and dropped short, but they obviously had worked on it because they had the bodies there to contest clean ball or be under the breaking ball as well, and you know that's something a lot of people would have called for, and even myself, you know, with Aidan O'Shea and others in there as a focal point, that was something that I didn't think they did enough of. But there seemed to be a small little change at the weekend, and I think they got some joy out of it.
I think that's something that we're starting to see from all teams, Michael. We spoke previously about a few glimpses of it with Donegal in that Ulster final in the first half. We'll chat a wee bit and we'll see a few clips of Armagh with Rian O'Neill now back into the team. And we did talk about it even last week with Tyrone, maybe about how they could keep players ahead of the ball, and the quality of pass maybe could have been, or the link play between those front 3 is something that they can certainly enhance. Now, we didn't see much of it the weekend, but with the skill set of players that they have, is certainly something that they can get better at. But I, for one, I can fully see that this is a key tactic that will develop as time goes on, because I know myself as a defender, it makes me think twice because I really don't know what's happening. Like that one clip we did show with Ryan O'Donoghue, he literally goes out and glances over his shoulder and just pumps it straight across the square. So if that happens to me 3 or 4 times and I'm a full back, well, I'll be letting whoever's in Ryan O'Donoghue know, will you stop letting him turn so easy and pump that high ball in? So then you might overcommit a bit, and then O'Donoghue can spin you and take you the opposite side, you know. So it's having a variety to your play, and I think that's what they had at the weekend, and one of the main reasons, obviously, along with the energy and the mindset that they had going into it, that they put in such a brilliant performance and got a win in Omagh.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it was a high ball that was decisive at the end of the Galway Derry game in terms of Galway going up with 1 point. By 1 point, with a minute left on the clock, and that was like just a missed kick. It was an effort at 2-pointer, but we might get to that next. But I suppose if we jump on to Derry, and I was there for that game as well, and having looked back over it, like, it was an absorbing game, It was all the scores. There was serious intensity. Derry set their stall out early, and in fairness to them, they probably feel very unfortunate not to have taken the win. They were hugely efficient in their attack. We'll look at that in a little bit. But from the start, I suppose the questions, we had seen a good 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the end of the Armagh game in the previous round for Derry, and then, I suppose, coming into it, then you're thinking, right, what can they bring? Can they bring that for 50 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes? And straight away, we'll see here the first few clips is just what they did from the very beginning. And it was their intensity and much like Mayo, their willingness to get on the ball. And the very first clip there is a kick out that should have been won. Brendan Rodgers had no right to get out and break it away from his man, but he did. This is 4 minutes in, and without hesitation, he kicks a monster 2-pointer for his team. And that was just very much, game on. Derry are locked in for this. And just an example here then of in their setup play. So there's a decent ball put into Rob Finnerty, but watch Baker. He breaks it away from him. He's up and gone and out at speed. And just Derry, just all action all over the park, breaking forward at speed. And that one ends up over the bar in about 30 seconds time if we play it all the way through. So just a huge appetite to work and to put pressure on Galway all over the pitch. And same goes here. So Galway will be happy enough with the setup here. You can see they've loaded up inside. They've created that bit of space, and they're going to get the ball into one of their main threats, Shane Walsh. And Derry are man on man. They're tight, but a couple of guys spot the danger here and move in huge, with speed to double up and treble up on Shane Walsh, and just to stop him getting your shot away, because with the conditions, you had to be on the closer in arc to get a score really into that goal. They did offer up a 2-point chance to Paul Conroy. They were lucky that it didn't go over. But again, in this instance, if we played it on, they go down and get another score from a Galway turnover. So they were just hugely efficient in that area, turning Galway over, getting scores. This is just a clip I said we throw it in. There was so many phases like this, and this is both teams just stuck in it, tackling hard. Conditions played a role in this. They're really going at it, putting bodies on the line, from both sides. And there was like 6 or 7 times there, totally absorbing.
Would you see, even as a neutral, Michael, as I watched that back, like, there's not much quality football there, but that is exciting for a neutral. That gets you gripped in the game, because you see teams just going after it, and it's just a level of bravery, commitment. That's championship football. That's the difference between. That's the levels that's going up that is required.
Yeah, it was do or die, and like you said, there was so much of it which made it absorbing. But the last clip here is Paul Conroy feeds it in, old school drop kick to Rob Finnerty. But see what Rodgers does there to turn over number 1, and like, he should have been put out over the line 2 or 3 times, but there was no way he was yielding to that. That was just such a defining moment in the game for him and for his teammates, right in front of the stand. There wasn't a big crowd there, but that was really, really, Derry setting their stall out early, and they maintained it. And credit them.
Isn't it funny that it just seems like with this new format?
The next thing we just looked at, so I want to talk about a few clips here.
It's just a mindset thing with teams from week to week. It just seems so hard to maintain that really, really high level that, Derry, what they learned from week 1, completely enacted it in week 2 and set the tone, and Mayo did similar. So, from one week, they're taking serious swings to the next.
Correct. Yeah, whatever will happen in 2 weeks' time. But in the whole game, I think Derry had 22 scores, right, out of 25 shots. So 2 wides, 1 drop short. That's phenomenal efficiency. And just a little clip on that then, just to look at a few bits here. First score I'm going to look at we're going to see it's going to end up in the hands of Ethan Doherty. But Derry, like they did really well all the game, they'll attack one side and they can switch right across that pace. But the nice thing here is just Ethan Doherty, when he gets his hands on this ball here, he is driving into the space on the outside, and he's going to suck the extra Galway player who should be marking Conor Glass. He's going to have to go with him because he knows if he doesn't, he could be in on goal. But it's just the speed and determination from him. You can say equally that it's slack from Galway to give this much space to Derry's key man, and even still, there's no great urgency to close him down at all. And that's the worrying thing for Galway. But to me, it was Ethan Doherty with that pace across that helped there. So this is after a Derry score, right? Glass has already scored, and they've turned over the kick out. And just love this ball inside, the space inside. He takes it on. It's a perfect ball in front. The man has made the run. He's taken out 3 or 4 Galway players, and this is going to end up in the back of the net. And again, we can look at it from 2 ways: from slack from Galway. And if I think Sean Mulkern, if he had his time back here, he would mind his man a little bit more here as the ball comes across, because he just kind of ends up kind of drifting onto the goal line. And I think that might have been the right thing to do, but it's just the perfect ball across. There's no one going for their own scores there to be a hero. He could have maybe hand passed it over the bar, but no, gave the little pass, and that was a key score. And I love this. This is Glass, right? He kind of features heavily, but he's calling for the ball here, right? So, and the ball is carried over to him, and watch it for just a lovely backdoor check. And he probably knows that's his sweet spot there. That's in his county ground. Just a lovely score into the wind. That's one of the places on the pitch, Aaron, that you would have loved to kick from yourself with the way the wind was going as well. But this is the key score that draws the game for Derry. So they get out maybe a bit easy from the kick out, right? But so the hooter will go in the middle of this here. But watch how they're moving the play, they're moving the ball. It's going from side to side, over and back, and they're in control and they're pushing. So the reality is here now, with the conditions, a 2-pointer isn't an option. So it's either a goal or a 1 point here to maybe get a result out of the game. And Baker comes forward again, and at this point now, if I was to freeze the camera, there are 6 Derry players all across the 21, fully stacked from side to side. So they have created enough space on the outside in between the arcs. And again, it's just Conor Glass with a real bit of intelligent play here, just to draw the man out, and he cuts in the back. And, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I'm not sure if it's the same Galway player or not in this instance. But he just does enough, and there's a lovely hand pass in. And, I think that's Peter Cook who has to go, which frees up Conor Doherty, and that's 11 of the game. But it was just the package that Derry brought. Like I said, 22 scores from 25 shots, hugely impressive.
It's incredible given the wind and rain that there was. And that last score is even more impressive given the lead that they had coming into the last 10 minutes. It looked like they'd thrown away another game. Like, we've all been there where you sit and you do this end of game scenarios in training. Yeah. But, the reality is you're 6-8 points up and you basically blow that lead. It's very hard to remain composed and haven't won a game all year. But for them to eke out that draw the way they did, and the Glass one, the backdoor cut's brilliant. But with Derry, and it's only a small thing, is the weight of the pass. It's just straight in the hit. He doesn't need to break straight. If he has to break straight, just take a step back. Johnny Marr has him. He'll get a near hand on him. He'll turn him back around again. But it's just a perfectly weighted pass, brilliantly executed for them to get something out of the day and keep their season alive.
Correct, yeah, and they'll face up Dublin now with real intent in 2 weeks. And just the point you made there about the backdoor cut and the waiting and it going to hand, and I remember, when Derry were flying in, 2 or 3 years ago, like they could weave through a mass defence and still get in for their score. So the fact that there's less bodies back now, if they can bring that same level of cohesion and link-up play, they're certainly going to take it all, even though they'll feel, that they really should have won that and deserve to win it, but they should take huge energy from that, and it's going to set them up in a big way for that game with Dublin. One last bit for me, Aaron, right? Just sticking with the same game, there was so much in it. So I suppose looking at kind of work-ons for Galway, and just to paint the picture, like they had 8 wides, they had 8 drop short. That's huge. Like, so their scoring is way off. But this example here is Galway have just scored a goal, okay, and but straight away from the kick out, Derry get away, and Baker is gone, and he has open road in front of him, and just they're caught. He needs to be closed off. He needs to be put out over the sideline or turned. But the energy isn't there from Galway to close that off. And Sean Kelly has had to leave Conor Glass. He would have been picking him up at this point in the game because he sees the danger. And Glass just keeps his width, keeps his run going. Really, there should be a turnover here. And there's enough players around. And maybe one too many goes in. But Derry keep their composure and work it well. And so Galway had just scored a goal. Derry are straight down and they get their second goal. They get their own goal, completely wiping out any bounce Galway are going to get from it. Something here, I think, Paul Conroy is looking up. He's looking up. He wants to hit in. There's a 2-on-2 inside. There should be plenty of space. There is plenty of space, as we can see, but the run isn't made, which is fine. So Paul has to stop and come back and recycle. And we'll see later on how maybe if Damien Comer appeared, if he can get him on the pitch again, he's the man who will show for that kind of ball all day long. But it's just Galway have to reset and recycle. Okay. What have we? We've 2 jumping on 1 here with Conor Glass, and guess who wins it? Or he thirdly breaks it to his own man. So just little things like that, where when they 2 end up jumping, just a little lack of communication, and it's a lovely little breakdown onto the inside, and and Derry are away again. But that's and there was a lot in kickouts. Kickouts went every way and anyway. There was times when Galway lost 4 in a row. There was times when Derry lost 4 in a row. But you can see there's a great score here at a key point in the game. Yeah. Paul Cassidy, just with real conviction. That was that one. And just the last thing here, right? Okay, so this is one more little thing. So Galway win a good kick out, to be fair, Cian Darcy, and he did a lot of that in the second half. But so about 16 minutes to go. 14 minutes to go. Galway about 6 points down here. Conditions are atrocious, right? So it's a tricky one. But what we have is we just have a block of men between, from the small edge of the small D on one side to the edge of the small D on the other side, and there's a huge body of men there. And to me, it's too narrow. There's no real movement. There's no option to just create space, and that the wrong option as well is to shoot there, because with the conditions. It's just the ball wasn't going over from that point, but it's just a lack of just kind of clarity and just maybe taking their time. But this is the example of what you can do. Damien Comer's on the pitch, and like this might look like a 70-30 ball to a defender, but it's one of his strongest things is to take that first phase ball, and you can put that in, and he will show for them. So he gets his mark and he gets to score there.
Still an incredible fetch, like the pace and the conditions that ball comes in, and for him to still be able to hold it on, if they can get him fully fit, in the new format, which he hasn't really been fit all year, he's going to be a huge handful if he plays for 45-50 minutes against Armagh.
Absolutely, yeah, you'd like to think so. And this is what nearly won the game for Galway, or nearly robbed the game for Galway. It's their 5th, ball that drops short in the second half. 8 in total, and 8 wide. 16. That's not Galway haven't shot like that in I don't know how long, and I'd say it's a big talking point for them this week. But credit to I think John Maher, who gets a fist on it. It comes off the post, so that just changes the direction. And Matthew Tierney is just there in the right place at the right time. So I suppose the point on that is not that you want to be dropping balls short, but balls into the box, there's danger, There was another example. Derry got caught for a two-up breach, so the ball was brought in. But in that actual phase of play, there was a long ball in, possibly John Daly linking up with Damien Comer. Damien Comer had won it out in front again direct. So it's going to be a lot to ask of him. But if he got through that game okay, and if he can be available for 2 weeks' time and maybe play 40 minutes or 40 minutes. Galway need that kind of player with these new rules in there. Like Rob Finnerty had a massive game. He had a massive game for Galway, but you just need to have the different options that and he brings a sort of a different option to what Galway can do. So that was kind of a bit of everything.
It looks a wee bit like the Dublin game, and having lost at home, and then that a wee bit of a lack of confidence. But I suppose if we move on to the Armagh game, I suppose that's the bit that I just want to highlight with them. Obviously, Armagh had won. They won against Derry, the Park, the Ulster final. But then there's still a lot of talk in terms of Dublin. Everyone knows how well they played. They go away from home. We're heading to Croke Park, and you're wondering, what way is this going to fare out? And to be fair, your initial 15-20 minutes, Dublin play really nice football, constantly moving the ball, having Armagh guessing continuously. Armagh were sort of the first 21 minutes. It ends up Dublin, they have 8 scores, 4 different scores on the board, playing really, really nice football. But what we want to look at here then is, to me, this is championship winning form starting to come in, where players have genuine belief. Now, this again is what we talk about. The different dynamic that Rian O'Neill can bring to Armagh. Unbelievable ball end, Andrew Murnan. Poor defending now. 2 Dublin players get caught switching themselves. Good save by Cluxton. But this is what I want to show here. So instead of everyone dropping off, press, Dara McMullen gets a good hit on Paddy Small. You have all the Armagh players ready to converge on him. Dara stays in the tackle and forces a turnover. Where maybe in years gone by, Armagh, that miss, they might have all dropped back, tried to get goal side, tried to defend. No, they want the ball back. Rian O'Neill, one corner wasn't good enough. Let's spray one and into the other corner. And Ross McQuillan ends up tap the ball over the bar. Nice simple score from him. That brings it to 8-7. So from the 23rd minute, what we're going to see here, right up until the 29th minute, this all happens one after another. And to me, this is a big one here. So Oisin Connolly wins a kick out. Lee Gannon stays at the tackle, doesn't give him the extra 5 meters to run on. And this is the statement of intent. This isn't game defining, but this is just a difference, I think, between winning the All-Ireland last year, coming up against Dublin and Croke Park, and this Armagh team now, and the mentality to have that Rory Grugan is just saying, you know what, we're not going to go in and take the handy free. We're going to take it outside the 40-meter arc. I'm going to compose myself and make sure that we get the 2 points on the board here and try and, take the maximum out of the opportunity that we have here with Oisin Connolly winning that there. Rory, deadly accurate, just takes his time, strokes it over, 2-pointer. So there we go. We're only at the 24th minute and we're up to 9-8 lead from Armagh. Straight away, win the next kick out. And everyone tries to do this here, and not everyone has the players who can do what happens at the end. So Armagh tried to attack initially, ends up slow play. Dublin have everyone back, but they're more than happy. All they want to do is keep drawing Dublin players in individually, to get them in one-on-one situations, to free up a pocket of space. Andrew Murnan could go to Oisin Connolly, but does the right thing, switches straight to Rian, so nobody has the chance to get out on him. Now again, there's not many players in the game who have the ability to do that from 55 metres. The very next kicker, here we go again, just spills it at Kieran Kilkenny's hands. Bit of slick hands and a really simple tap over score for Conor Turbett. And at that stage, you're looking at Armagh up to 12-8. Because they have a constant press on now here. Again, there's no zonal, there's no offering up kickouts. They just go man to man everywhere again. And just look at their willingness to crash, to break, to try and contest and win this ball back. 3 players around Sean McMahon. You have Turbett there, you have Rian O'Neill. Dara McMullen gets a quick turnover, and look at the speed and the directness of Oisin Connolly. This is the Dublin players in Croke Park. He takes them all on, runs around them, kicks off his so-called weaker left foot. So for me, in that period of time, 6 minutes, Armagh ended up with 5 scores, which yielded 7 points, and they went from being 8-6 down to being 13-8 up in the space of 6 minutes. And to me, there was a level of confidence, there was a level of composure and assurance. And in all of that there time as well, Rory Grugan misses another 2-point effort. And it ends at the very end of it with a wee bit of a mix-up where they end up hand-passing the ball out over the end line. But literally for that 6 minutes, everything that they would have planned to do in terms of different styles, whether it's foot pass, whether it's running the ball, whether it's free kicks, they did it with a really, really high level of confidence. And to me, they just kept Dublin at arm's length for the rest of the game. They could afford to give away a score and still go up the field and be able to chip on. Ultimately, Dublin ended up kicking 18 wides, and there's a huge amount that they will sit and look back and go, well, that should have been a score, or that was the wrong option. But if I'm sitting in an Armagh change room as a player, or I'm the management, that's the time where I'm going, that's the composure of champions, or that's the confidence that champions genuinely play with. And for me, that was probably throughout the whole game, that 6-7 minute spell was the most impressive thing. Because again, it's Dublin and Croke Park. There was a bit of chat last week, like Armagh's game plan going to work in Croke Park? Can Armagh go up against Dublin because of the running power and the strength that they have? And I think in that 6 or 7 minutes, they emphatically answered that the answer is clearly yes.
They did. It looked controlled and comfortable nearly. Yeah. I'm sure it wasn't, but that's kind of the level they seem to be operating at. And it was just the whole catalogue was there, as you said. And certainly, Oisin Connolly has been exceptional this year. I think he's really stepped up, or not that but he came so high last year, but he's just gone on to a whole new level, and that spells danger for everyone else. And Rian O'Neill's boot, it's made for the more space that he can now kick into versus what he's used to over the last 4 or 5 years. That spells trouble too. But the question on everyone's lips here in Galway, Aaron, is what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time when it's Galway and Armagh in the final game of the group, where there's a lot riding, nothing riding on it so much for Armagh, there's a lot riding on it for Galway. So
yeah, it's one I suppose Armagh management have to think about, because there's a few players that you might say we might rest them in terms of just the workload and the age profile and the game profile that they have, but there are others, maybe the likes of Rian, who clearly you would want to try and get as much match time as possible. There are others who are coming back from injury, haven't played much football, the likes of Niall Grimley. Aaron McKay hasn't featured at all this year. So they have quality players as well that they can replace a certain amount if they wish to. But to me, it's still a championship game of football. I would find it very hard to have a mindset where you ease it off at all. Now, maybe that's different. Maybe we're out of football too long and we're not part of the new format. But if it's championship football, you're going out to win. It's as simple as that there. Yeah, Armagh still clearly have a strong 15 out. They have a strong bench. So it is, it's an intriguing one. The fact that it's in Breffni Park, a lot of talk was it was going to be in Croke Park. I'm happy enough with the Breffni Park. I just find those smaller provincial grounds just create a better atmosphere, which ultimately, for me as a player, that was the bit I enjoyed more, rather than a bigger stadium with less people in it. I think you have 20-odd thousand there to be a great atmosphere in Breffni.
Yeah, it's a big game. It is a big game, and like you said, we've seen teams struggle for consistency. Teams on the maybe Tyrone, you could say, on the back of a win, and then they follow it up. So that's them going out clearly to win against Donegal, to win against Mayo. So if you go messing and bringing in, okay, well, this game doesn't really count here. That mentality it's asking for trouble. So I don't expect for 1 second. Yeah. You don't expect for 1 second that there'll be anything in it. But look at that's it. That's it for this week. So this weekend is all about the Tailteann Cup preliminary quarterfinals, and we'll be looking at those next week. I think the pick of the bunch are the neighbours, Westmeath and Laois, but there's a few good games there to look forward to. So that's it for now. Until then, stay safe, everyone. Talk to you next week.